Good morning. 5 years ago, in the book Dragon on Our Doorstep, I wrote, and this was the opening line, let alone China, India cannot beat Pakistan in war. Today, I believe that in the next war, the Pakistan military will convincingly outmatch the Indian military. This is making a big statement, and I'm aware of this. And there are three reasons why I'm saying this, and all the three reasons are linked to what happened in Jammu and Kashmir on the 5th of August 2019. But before I explain those three reasons, it is necessary that we review what I said 5 years back. Why did I say that India cannot beat Pakistan in war? So, to understand this, we have to go back to the basics of war. Any war should be fought at three levels. There is a lowest level called the tactical level of war. This is where the battles are fought. This is about force on force engagements. This is about attrition. Because it is about attrition, it is about mean counting of assets. How many tanks, how many guns each side has, it matters at the tactical level of war, which is where the battles are fought. Now the second level, the intermediate level, is called the operational level of war. This level of war is much more than the sum total of all the battles happening in the tactical battle space. At this, it is why it is much more is because it is heavily influenced by the third, the uppermost level of war, which is the strategic level of war. It is at the strategic level of war that synergy between the political and the military leadership should be there, should be supposedly there, and it is at that level that the nation decides on the military strategy. And it is at this level that the Pakistan military is very strong as compared to the Indian military. I will explain this strategic level in a while. But here I would say is, first of all, the operational level of war is influenced by the strategic level of war, and the importance of this level, intermediate level, is that the war outcome is determined at this level. If you lose this level, you lose the campaign or you lose the war. Now, second thing we need to address is, what is the Indian military's war concept? How do they fight a war? So their war concept is what is called air-land battle. It's an American concept enunciated in 1986. So the question is why the Indian military did not upgrade it since 1986. The reason is that the Indian Army, as the lead service of the three of the Indian military, has been involved since 1990 in counter-terror operations in Jammu and Kashmir. And it has been there for the last 30 years and still keeps doing that. Now, in these 30 years, the PLA, which is our northern neighbor, with which again we have a disputed border, they upgraded their war concept 3 times. From network-centric operations to informationized war to now intelligence-sized war, which is also called the robotic war, which is about artificial intelligence and autonomy. Indian military missed all this. As far as the Pakistan military is concerned, because they identify India as their sole enemy, it was only important for them that they remain strong at the operational level of war. They should remain matched to the Indian military at the intermediate level of war, which they have been able to do. Now, when we talk of air-land battle, first of all, what is it about? Air-land battle is about battles. That means the entire focus is on the tactical level of war, the lowest level of war. And when at the lowest level, there are two physical domains. There is air and there is land. That means Army and the Air Force. Each service has its core competency. The Army's core competency is combined arms operations. What this means is that instead of the artillery fighting its war, armor going its way, infantry going its way, everything is combined. It's a combined arms operation for optimal outcome, effect. So this is the core competency of the Army anywhere in the world. As far as the Air Force is concerned, their core competency is about speed, lethality, range and flexibility. Entirely different core competencies. Therefore, when we are talking of the battle, we are talking of the tactical level. It is a good idea to have synergy at the planning stage between the army and the air force when there are only two physical domains available. That means at the planning stage, there should be jointness, but at the execution stage, there should be coordination. Jointness should not be done at the execution state for the simple reason that in a two domain war, physical domain war, then you curtail the core competency of one of the service. Between these two, the Air Force core competency, optimization of its core competency will be curtailed, which is not a great idea. Therefore, General Bipin Rawat, the CDS reforms, which is about integrated theatre commands, where he talks about creating a joint force of the Air Force and the Army, is not a good idea at all. Because he is looking at jointness at planning and execution both. That will not give the optimal result. But this is not really the thing that I'm talking here in this video. Now, I said that the Pakistan military scores heavily at the strategic level of war, at the highest level. And the reason for that is the Pakistan Army Chief, he controls the nation's nuclear policy, security policy, defense policy. And he brooks no interference from the political leadership or the bureaucracy, which is not the case with India. In India, there is constant interference from the political leadership and the bureaucracy. The latest example of the political leadership is once Prime Minister Modi came to power, in his first Combined Commanders Conference in October 2014, he told the combined commanders that the threat is known, but the enemy is invisible. Now, threat he meant Pakistan, enemy he meant terrorist. So, what he was telling the Indian military is that you fight the enemy, that means you fight terrorism, you continue doing the counter-terror operations. And the military leadership accepted this, not realizing that terrorism is not the enemy. Terrorism is a military strategy of the Pakistan Army. When you fight a military strategy, you never win. And that is what is going on. As far as bureaucratic interference is concerned, constitutionally, the Civilian Defense Secretary, he is responsible for the defense of India. Now, if this be so, then the bureaucrats are interfering everywhere. It's well known. For example, their interference is enormous in the operational sustenance system, procurement of arms, ammunition, all this which is not the case with the Pakistan military. Now, when the Pakistan military is strong at the strategic level for all these reasons, they have wider choices. They have good choices, options for planning and options for execution. And they have initiative at the operational level of war. It is at this level I said that the war is won or lost. So they are better off because of this having a very strong strategic level of war. Now, the other thing what the Pakistan Army has done is, because until Ladakh happened, Indian Army, which was about 12 lakhs, was completely focused on the line of control against Pakistan. So one of the dilemmas, because it concerns force on force engagement of the Pakistan Army, was how does the Pakistan Army with a strength of 6 lakh match an adversary with double the strength? So this they resolved by the ISI, their ISI, Inter-Services Intelligence. ISI is responsible in Pakistan both for the internal as well as the external intelligence, and at the end of the day is responsible only to the Pakistan Army Chief. In my assessment, this is one of the best intelligence services in the world, because they learned very fast from the first war of Kashmir in 47, the use of tribals with regular soldiers. And since then, they have been able to match up the numbers, double the numbers of the Indian Army by the use of irregulars, which are also called mujahids, and also by their paramilitary force. Their paramilitary force are the Rangers. The Rangers, though being paramilitary, they have officers of the regular army and hence they have ethos of the regular army. This is the reason, because of this mujahids, that the Pakistan Army Chief General Musharraf in the 1999 Kargil conflict said that they are my first line of defense. But actually they are the first line of offense, and that is how they make up for the less numbers of the Indian army at the tactical level. So, and this is the reason that the Pakistan army, because it has always matched the Indian army and the Indian military at the operational level of war, that it has never been defeated in the West in any of the wars that have been fought. Whether it was the first war of Kashmir, whether it was 65 or 71. Because we know that there was a ceasefire line created after the first war of Kashmir, which was converted, renamed as line of control with a give and take of territory after the 71 war. But this military line was never obliterated. It was because they have made sure of maintaining a parity at the operational level of war. So to say that conventionally they are inferior is complete nonsense. Pakistan military is not inferior in war fighting because of the reasons I have explained to the Indian military. Now the situation has changed drastically, as I said. How it has changed is for three reasons. The first reason is that after the happenings of 5th August 2019, when India created Ladakh Union Territory, came out with new maps, China objected. That China said that we do not accept Ladakh as a union territory. So what happened in turn was, their earlier core concern was Arunachal Pradesh, which they call South Tibet. Now they added Ladakh also as their core concern. Now here there was China, which had Ladakh as the core concern, and Pakistan traditionally had Kashmir as the core concern in this. That means now the things have moved, or in the next war they will move in Ladakh from interoperability to combined operations. Let this sink in. Interoperability to combined operations. Let me explain. Interoperability has 4 steps. Step number 1 is commonality of equipment. We know that today maximum equipment with the Pakistan military is of Chinese origin. The second step is about operational sustenance. That means your arms, your ammunition, your spare parts. Now assemblies, when you have commonality of equipment, that means you are also assured a regular supply of operational sustenance from the Chinese, which cannot be said for the Indian military. In other words, in a short swift war, whereas the Indian side will be very conservative in the use of firepower, will not be the case with the Pakistan military, because they can go for the intense rates of fire, being completely mindful that we have a assured regular supply of ammunition, spare parts, everything coming from China. The third step in interoperability is training together. Now, this they have been doing for the last 10 years. The Pakistan Air Force along with the PLA Air Force, they've been doing the Shaheen series of exercises since 2012. Similarly, the 2 special forces have been doing the Warrior series of exercises again since 2012. Now the next step, or the final step, is planning for war. After what India did, as far as the 2 sides are concerned, they have identified the theatre also. Planning for war in which theatre? The theatre will be Ladakh, Kashmir, POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan and Siachen. Now this is the theatre we are looking at. This is one theatre we are looking at, where both the militaries, which have already interoperability, the last step was accomplished by the definition of this new theatre, and as we know, the reports have said that officers of the rank of colonel of the Pakistan military. Now they are embedded with the PLA's Western Theatre Command and with its Xinjiang Military Command, which is responsible for Ladakh. So all this has been accomplished. Now we should be expecting what is called the combined arms operation. And the military strategy is no longer what the Indian military thinks. It will be a two-front war. In my assessment, we should be looking at, in this theatre, a one-front reinforced war. Now, what does this mean? One front reinforced war. That means there will be a deep sharing of various domains between the PLA and the Pakistan military. For example, in the cyber domain, the PLA is very strong in this domain, in cyber warfare and cyber attacks. We should expect, we as the Indian military should expect, and this will work to the advantage of the Pakistan military, that the mobilization plans of the Indian army may not go as planned. Similarly, the ATCs, the air traffic controllers, may go erratic, which will affect the programs of the sorties of the Indian Air Force. Why? Because the entire Northeast, our telecommunications, our power grids, you say it, they all have, I mean, it's been going on for decades now. They all have systems which we have bought from the Chinese. So cyber will be a big thing, which will, the Chinese can do that, and which will help the Pakistan military. Then we are looking at, as we are aware, that 1 year after August 2019, in August 2020, the Pakistan Air Force, with deep help from the Chinese, from the PLA, they created what is called the Center for Artificial Intelligence, and Computing. Now, I expect this will be able to deliver in at least two areas in the next war. The first area should be air defense. Air defense, traditionally, the Paki air defense has been quite good. In fact, it has been reinforced also now from a lot of equipment that they have bought from the Chinese. Having said that, if the Chinese were to help them through this Center for Artificial Intelligence and Computing, then we could be looking at artificial intelligence is all doable. Artificial intelligence in air defense, that means the OODA loop will get shortened. OODA is the Observe, Orient, Decide, Act loop, which basically means that instead of a human monitoring the air defense, it could be done by an intelligent machine. So this will be a tremendous boost to the Pakistan military. The next area that I am looking at is electronic warfare. Electronic warfare and the management of electromagnetic spectrum. The Pakistan Air Force demonstrated this convincingly on the 27th of February 2019 in what they call Operation Swift Retort, which was in answer to the Indian Air Force Balakot strikes. They showed that they were better off in electronic warfare and the management of the electromagnetic spectrum. And they already have identified in this center, Artificial Intelligence and Computing Center, cognitive electronic warfare as their top priority, focus. Well, they may not achieve that anytime soon, but certainly the electronic warfare will make some strides with artificial intelligence in that. So this is another area. Then they can have lot of, from the Chinese, they will get lot of standoff specialized ammunition, missiles, all this will come from there. In other words, this we are looking at, as I said, the combined operations with the military strategy of one front reinforced war. Now coming to the second reason, I said. Second reason, again linked to the events of August 2019, is about the situation in the valley. Let's accept that the situation in the valley is not good, and a replay of what happened in the 1965 war. In the 1965 war, when Pakistan unleashed Operation Gibraltar, they brought in the irregulars in the valley. The Kashmiris helped us. The Kashmiris helped the Indian army in nabbing those irregulars, those foreigners, and handed them over to the army and the police. It will not happen this time. The Kashmiris are alienated. This will be a big boost for the ISI now. Not only that, please remember, even the Indian army numbers are divided, because a lot of Indian army will be available, not be available on the Pakistan front, for the simple reason they will be on the Chinese front. So less numbers and a hostile population in Valley will certainly work to the advantage, big advantage of the ISI and the Pakistan army and the military. That is my second reason. My third reason is the assets will get divided. I mean, we are actually looking at, in the next war, if it happens, which God forbid it should not happen, is a two-front war scenario in which the assets will be divided. The Air Force will have to look at the LC, it will have to look at the LAC against China. Now, against China, the Indian military, if you see the deployments of the army, you know from the deployments that they are simply trying to hold the line of contact. They actually believe that there will be a war at the tactical level. They don't seem to realize that in the PLA's war concept, tactical level is a side issue. It is irrelevant. The PLA war will finish and end at the operational level of war. That is where they will fight, not at tactical level. Moreover, what General Naravane had said recently about boots on the ground, Rawat keeps saying boots on the ground. No, if you just apply yourself with imaginative war concepts, which is what the PLA will do, they can actually occupy huge territory without bothering about the line of contact. So this war is not very clear, or not clear at all, to the Indian military. And on the other side, what we face is now a Pakistan military. I gave you the reasons which will convincingly outmatch the Indian military. So the overall situation appears very grim, and this is the reality. I'm not talking some fiction. So the answer to this is, we must make peace with China, and we should look at cooperation and a win-win situation with China. Thank you.